Okay, we're 5 years in since our move to Florida and specifically Lake Mary, Central Florida. And the big question is, would we do it again?
No.
Stick around because we're going to answer that right now. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. And if you've been watching and following along with my channel for the last year or so, you've probably become accustomed to a lot of spotlighting videos. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Stephanie Kennedy. I'm a local realtor here in Central Florida. And this is my husband, Ian. And he's a real estate investor and handyman. And that's sort of how I became involved with real estate. But I have him on today with me to answer some questions and just sort of talk about some things that people usually ask us about when we first moved to Florida. If we like it, would we do it again? So it's a little bit more of a personal video today. So the big question, we're 5 years in, would we make the move again?
5 years today.
Oh, today. Oh, today's the anniversary. I didn't even realize that. Yeah, January 10th.
Yep.
So we closed on our house here in Lake Mary on January 10th in 2020. And just to give you a little bit of backstory before I let him answer, we are from Pennsylvania originally, a suburb outside of Philadelphia. And I wasn't interested in moving to Florida. We like to visit it. We did it several times a year.
Especially in the winter time.
We love Disney, but my family was up north and I really didn't care to leave my family. So what did I tell you?
You would try for a year, and if you liked it, then we would stay. If not, then we moved back.
So we had a one and a half year old daughter at the time, and I figured
just under 2.
Yeah, we would give it a shot and we'd see if we liked it, and if not, we were going to move back before she started school and sort of go from there. So
hence to say, we're 5 years in.
Needless to say, here we are 5 years later, and I love it. And I can't imagine going back to the cold winters up north.
I am ready. No.
He's very sarcastic.
I would never move back.
So since then, my parents have moved down. Your father has moved down. We have several friends in the area who have also moved from the north, and obviously from all over, but specifically from the north. So we see many people making the move, and for the most part, I'd say probably about 95% of the people I speak with or know who have made that transition love it and would agree. So, but it's not all, roses and sunshine. So we are going to talk about some things, why we decided to make the move, what we love about Florida, what we don't like as much about Florida. So if you're in the same boat and you're looking to make the relocation down here, specifically to Central Florida, then stay tuned because we're going to get into it right now. Okay, so our background, like I said, we came from Pennsylvania, and we are originally from a suburb outside of Philadelphia, where we do miss the cheesesteaks and the pizza.
The food, yes, the food is much better in the north.
We do miss that, but we did make the move down here, and one of the driving factors was, I think for both of us, was the winter and the cold and the dreary,
the gloomy gray skies for 6 months out of the year, and rainy, and didn't want to do anything outside.
So, and you get into that hibernation mode, right? As soon as fall is over, like fall is such a great time of year up north, and then once it's over, it's just sort of like, oh, maybe we'll get a snow day.
Once New Year's, then from January 1st to April, it's just miserable.
And it's cold, and and obviously
it gets dark so early. It gets dark up there at 5 o'clock, and we're in Central Florida, so it gets dark here at 6 o'clock. It's only an hour, but that hour makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
You're not going to work in the dark and coming home in the dark.
Yeah.
You're going to work in the light and you're coming home at light.
That, and I'd say just, we'd get into the car in the winter, and remember, I didn't want to move. It's so cold, and
The kids are all bundled up and stuff.
And
yeah.
untaking the kids out of their jackets to put them in the car seats and then putting them back in. It's just, we don't have to worry about that so much here. Rarely, occasionally, but
maybe
very
about
rare.
2 weeks out of the year.
Yeah.
You'll have cold enough nights where you got to put the kids in jackets.
Yeah, we're in a
As
cold
today,
front.
you can see I've got sweatshirt on.
Our cold front here was like 44, I think. So,
Yeah, 38 last night.
But I think just
overnight.
You get outside and the coldness would just hit your face and it would just hurt. And he'd look at me and be like, "You want to live here?" So finally, after several years of playing with the idea, researching,
Yes,
visiting Florida.
You're welcome.
Thanks. I agreed to try it, and honestly, it's been for us the best decision, and we can't imagine now going back. Now we do go back to visit several times, throughout the year.
But
usually.
it does justify it too. Like even with the kids, like when we went up for a wedding, we get home and the kids are, our daughter's now 6, almost 7 years old, and she looks at us and says, "I'm so thankful that we live somewhere where it's summertime all the time."
Yeah.
So it's little things like that when you go into a different environment that the kids have never been in, and you see it through their eyes.
Yeah,
it definitely helps.
And that's not for everybody. I mean, my aunt had moved down to St. Augustine and then ended up moving back north because she likes the change of seasons. And most of her family was still up there, so we hadn't moved down yet at that time. But and that's just something unique to each person. But that is a big driving factor for us. So if you're like us, you live somewhere cold. You're over the winters and the snow and the ice and all of that.
Days.
Yeah, I think this might be a good fit for you. So that was the first part of it. So we did make the move down. We spent me specifically, I spent several years researching. We came down many
5
times.
years, 5 years.
And for me, I was a teacher up north prior to making the move down. I was a middle school math and science teacher for 10 years and in New Jersey. And my biggest hesitation was making the move down to the south because it can have a stigma attached to it with education.
Yeah.
So obviously I can't speak on specifics when it comes as a realtor, when it comes to
I can.
schools and education and things, as not to steer people. However, I will say I did a lot of research. We did also really love Disney and the theme parks. We do love,
Yes.
I love the beach. So we wanted something that was going to fit everything that we liked, be able to pop over to the theme park, spend time in Disney, or go to the beach still, and just have that available to us
Lake
throughout
Mary
most
was
of
a
the year.
great fit for what we wanted. Like we were outside of Philadelphia, so we were about an hour and 10 minutes down to the New Jersey beaches.
Which we did have a house in Toms River, New Jersey as well for several years.
So I mean, we like that aspect of it, but we love Disney. Once kids get a little older, maybe Universal. There's just a lot of even outside stuff to do, shopping and that kind of stuff down in Orlando.
Yeah.
But yeah, the food does suck. It's nowhere near as good as up north.
So,
But there are good places to eat.
Well, we don't eat seafood either. So here, the seafood is very good here. So maybe that's where it outweighs. But so that's sort of our story, how we ended up here. Now, I want to say before we get into this, we did close on our house, like I said, in January 2020. And that was right before COVID hit.
Yeah.
And it shut everything down. We were fortunately able to be down here. We still had our house in Pennsylvania at the time because the transition with the market shutting down and everything, it just didn't align. So we had 2 houses for a while. And
6 months.
Yeah, that was tough for a little bit. I was teaching remotely down here as I finished out the school year, and we had a daughter. So there was a lot of transition, but we did, in our favor, hit the market at the right time. And so
100%.
we landed here right after the market reopened. I mean, everything went crazy, the real estate down here. And so people sometimes are hesitant and fearful, like they may not be getting the best deal, but you can still get a good deal down here in Florida. But
Just
is it what it
depends on
was?
where you want to be. Yeah.
Right.
Different areas. Biggest thing like it is we looked for 5 years. So at the end of those 5 years, we narrowed it down to Seminole County. There was two counties that had really good school districts, which was St. Johns County, which is up towards St. Augustine, and then Seminole County was ranked number 2 at the time. So we had read a bunch of magazine articles and all that. And Lake Mary ended up being rated one of the top places to raise a family in the whole country.
Now, if you go to niche.com, you'll see Seminole County is rated #1 for raising a family. So I like to reference those things, but that's sort of where we landed. That and location to the parks. It's about a 35 to 40 minute drive in.
We're right in the middle of everything. So we're 15 minutes northeast of Orlando, right up I-4. We can get down to downtown Orlando if you want to go down there. Yeah. They have basketball games, all different types of things. They have a variety of bars and comedy shows.
The Sunrail runs right from
Sunrail,
here.
Winter Park. There's really good restaurants down there. We're 35 minutes if you don't have traffic down to Disney. If you have traffic, sometimes it's 45 minutes to an hour, which is a common theme that traffic is just crazy because you have people coming from every aspect of the world and they don't understand
That's going to be
one
of our points that we talk about.
We'll get into that a little bit later. But the other thing, like she was saying, is she loves the beach, and now we're only 35, 40 minutes from the beach, so we're actually closer here to the beach than we were at home. So it's
the beaches are nicer down here, I will say.
And you can use them more throughout the year.
You can use them more frequently.
But it was all those things, and we narrowed it down in 2019 to Seminole County, and we were originally thinking Oviedo.
Which is also a great area.
Yeah,
and I will link, I'm going to plug it here because I did just create a video on Lake Mary versus Oviedo, so I'll link that for you to check that out if you're in the same boat we were.
Now, what we did find is when we were coming down, Oviedo had probably one of the top set of schools in the county. Now, the thing we realized, it was a little more rural than we like. So they're building it up, and it's been being built compared to Lake Mary.
Yeah.
Lake Mary was built in the 80s and 90s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. So there's not much land, there's not much area to build new. As there were, Oviedo has a lot of bigger properties. They have more raw land. So it is a little bit more rural, but they are building it. Like over the last 5 years, I was just out there, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. And when I went out there, I was surprised to see a bunch of shops, a bunch of restaurants, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, Oviedo on the Park is there now being built up. So what
tends
to happen, and what we always recommend for people who are coming down is if you're able to drive through the different areas, because you're going to pick up right away on the feel and whether it's for you. And so many times I'll have clients come down and they want to look in Oviedo because you get a little bit more land. And then they end up landing in Lake Mary and deciding that's the better fit, or vice versa. So it really just depends on what you are looking for.
But we were looking at Oviedo from 2015 to 2019. That's where we directed ourselves to.
I should mention, when we first came, our initial thought was Celebration, right? We wanted to be near the park. Celebration was such a cute town. And then it ended up being narrowed down to Oviedo or Lake Mary and Celebration. And when we weighed the property values, what you would get for your dollar, all of the things, we ended up going more towards Seminole County.
Well, we needed a big house.
Yeah.
So we were going to bring our in-laws, her parents, down with us. We wanted to have a spot for them. We needed a 5+ bedroom, so we wanted something big. So the house we're in is like 3,750 square feet, 4.5.
Yeah.
And
it is a new construction, which appealed to me because up north, you don't get that too often. Now, recently, he was pushing to go look at Celebration again, but I think I just love Lake Mary, and
Celebration's beautiful, and I will agree with you.
Visit.
It is that old town charm inside the walls of Celebration. Yeah. Like, they have a beautiful downtown. They have beautiful restaurants there. They have beautiful lakes and walkways that you can go through. They have wonderful Christmas time decorations and a snow pit in the middle, and they have horse carriage rides. Carriage rides that you go through. They have the Christmas.
We're not selling Celebration.
Yeah, I know. But
it's a beautiful
outside that little bubble, it is just chaos.
It's traffic and tourism. I mean, even in the bubble, when people come in for the holiday, all the events that they do, I mean, there's just so much traffic and congestion and so anyway, we are a little bit further out. We, like I said, about 35-40 minutes drive. We can get on the expressway on 4 and be down there in no time if there's no traffic. But sometimes there is traffic. So let's get into why we did our why. Let's get into what we love about here. So I think we kind of already hit on weather.
The weather,
right? The weather. Yes, it is hot at certain times of year, but
yeah. So you have, I try to explain this to everybody. It's hell in the summertime. It's hot. You don't want to be outside unless you're in a pool or unless you're walking to and from a car or to and from buildings. It's hot and humid for about 3.5, 4 months a year. So basically, it normally starts the second week of June, and then it runs through September. So first, second week of June, so you pretty much know that those 3.5, 4 months that you're going to be staying outside. You're in the pool at night time. You know what I mean?
But the rest of the year,
the other 8.5, 9 months that you have, it's absolutely
so
gorgeous. Nice. Absolutely gorgeous. I mean, you get, like right now, it's
and
even
the sunsets, the skies, and the sunsets. So beautiful.
Every night, like we used to see them like once every few months up north, but it's every night here. I always joke with her. I'm always like, man, there's never one that doesn't impress me.
Yeah.
And it's been 5 years, and I still, every time I'm driving around, I'm like, wow.
Yeah. And I mean, I prefer the heat over the cold. However, I will say when I was pregnant, I was just like, was it always this hot in the summer? I don't remember, but it is short-lived. You're inside, you're in the pool, you know, it's part of it. But yeah, otherwise, weather
part
is
of it
a plus
is,
for me.
So you got to look at it two ways. Like, it's hot in the summertime up north too. Like there are days when it's more hot and humid there. It's just more consistent here.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
a good point.
You know, you may have a 100-degree day or a 98-degree day up there, where we have like a 96-degree day every day. It's just, it doesn't get much hotter than that. It just stays consistent.
And a little more humid down here.
But like
your body adjusts to.
Yeah, like and the
Here,
other
not so much.
The other 9 months is, so December and January we have more of our colder days. Well, I can't even say colder days. It's cold nights. So we'll have a few, like maybe 2 weeks a year, we'll have where it'll dip into the 30s and 40s at nighttime. And then by 10 o'clock, it's up in the 70s. So,
well, we have a high in the 60s this week, but it's chilly, right?
But it's,
so don't get rid of your winter clothes if you move down. You will still need a jacket. People ask me that all the time.
Well, yes and no. So
keep the jacket.
I don't ever even think about putting pants on ever. I just shorts every day.
So weather for us, I think, is a positive, with the exception of, you have the heat in the summer. You do, I will say another positive for us is the people. We talked about location, the convenience. We've already hit on that, but the people are very friendly.
Yep.
They're warm and welcoming. And I know sometimes you can get on Facebook and social media and, you know, you see people who are not so nice and welcoming, and it can be a deterrent for some, but I've not experienced that personally.
Yeah,
Everyone...
I mean, coming from the Northeast, I mean, it's normal practice up there for everybody just to worry about themselves. And when you do come down here, I would say it's probably not the majority, but there is a lot more Southern hospitality. Yeah.
And the thing is, there's a lot of transplants here, specifically, you know, in Orlando, and then in Lake Mary, it's a very big business sector being built up here. So we do have a lot of relocation clients and families that move in. So people are from all over, and I think it's more of, it's a blend, and people have adapted to that, and they understand that. So for the most part, though, I feel like people are warm and welcoming. They have events here, just like he was talking about with Celebration, where they light up the downtown and have parades.
That's the same thing with Lake Mary. So every year, Lake Mary lights up the downtown. There's a downtown square, they call it, and it's all around the what's it called building, right? The
Lake Mary Town Hall.
Town Hall. So they take all the trees and they line all the trunks with different colored Christmas lights.
It's so pretty, and the kids love it, and they host like free face painting and balloon animals, and they get food trucks that come in, and it's just such a great family friendly environment. But The events.
Even on the beginning of that, in the beginning of December when they first put it up, they have the Christmas party, and they have Santa Claus come in, and all the people can come in and take pictures with their kids with Santa Claus. And there's so much that they offer. It's just,
they do it at Halloween. They have costume contests and same events, and and it's not just here. They have farmers markets on the weekends, every Saturday here, but any of the towns here in Central Florida, this is the stuff that they do, and it's just so welcoming. I don't know. So I do love that about where we live. And another thing is that it's easy travel. So before we would constantly be packing everything up, getting on the airplane, coming down to Disney, then, or maybe we won't go to Disney this time and we'll do other vacations, but we really want to go to Disney. So it was always this sort of big production to go on vacation, and specifically to Disney. And now, where we live, we have easy access to the parks. We don't have to worry about planes.
Just throw the kids in the car and
go. We can do staycations easily there. Stay a few nights.
Staycations, I will say that we do that quite a bit. And, the
with
kids
little ones.
Yeah, and the kids absolutely love it. They are so excited. They're always like, can we go to the hotel? Can we go see this hotel? Yeah. But there's a lot of nice things even in that.
Hotel hop, see different things, stay different places now.
But it feels like a vacation, but you're at home.
And also the cruise port. We have yet to do that because I've been pregnant. I feel like most of the time we've been down here, but
the little one just hit six months.
Our youngest, our third, just turned 6 months. So I think we're gonna look at our Disney cruise now. But the port is right there. You have, like we said before, great beaches.
40 minutes to the port.
And it's easy access. The airports make it easy. We have Sanford International, we have Orlando International, we have, Tampa's not too far, but
Tampa's about 2 hours.
Yeah, but it's an option if you would need to.
Sanford is literally 10 minutes up the road.
Yeah.
They do a lot more smaller airports, your offbeat airports.
Yeah, Allegiant Airlines flies out and out of there.
And then MCO, which is Orlando International, that's only 35-40 minutes. Yeah. So it's really just jump on 417 and we're there in no time.
So it just makes the convenience of being able to travel elsewhere for vacation
is huge.
Yeah, it's great. So, okay, I think that's pretty much all of my pros. What would you say? Anything else?
Life in general. Okay. I tell you what, it's a different way of life. Like,
it's not so fast paced.
Yeah, you can slow down a bit, enjoy the kids more. I flew back
outdoors more.
A year ago my mom got sick. I've had to fly back to Pennsylvania quite frequently, and every time I came back I feel like it was gray skies, rainy, like just gloomy. Yeah. So one time I was sitting there in the seat, I looked out the window and I looked over at the lady next to me and I said, "Welcome back to depression." Everybody on the plane started laughing. So, if that tells you anything, my state of mind, it depressed me. Now being here, I find myself driving down the road. I look up and I see the clouds and the sunshine, and it's like, it's like a
breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I equate it here, from October through May is just like springtime in the north.
Yeah. Spring and fall, I would say, is how most of the year.
And when you see the sky, how you see the sky over the winter, it makes you depressed, and then in the springtime you get so happy that you have the beautiful skies back. Yeah. That's what I feel like I get all the time, which makes me mentally happier.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, so some of the cons, I would say hurricanes, right?
Hurricanes, yeah. That's your big one.
Most people have that hesitation when they come down is, their fear of hurricanes. And, obviously, yes, you have to be aware of and prepared for hurricanes. But I think a lot of it with real estate here in Florida is location and where you land. And as much as
that's part of it,
I love the beach, we were more inland for a reason.
Yep.
So,
that, and there's building codes here that help with that. So a lot of the houses are built with concrete and cinder blocks. So like our house is rated for 150 mile an hour winds. So they're designed to take this kind of stuff. I mean, can they still sustain damage? Yes. But they're built to withstand a lot of this stuff. They're built very well.
Yeah. So, being that we're more inland, what tends to happen is when the hurricane comes across, it hits the coast and then it dies down by the time it reaches us.
Yeah. So if like you're in, let's just say Tampa, like the last one that came across.
Yeah.
You got to watch for the storm surge. So storm surge could be 20 feet. It could be where it was and 20 feet above when the hurricane first comes in. That's huge. I mean, it's not only you got to worry about the wind and the rain. It's you have to worry about that as well.
Yep. And projectiles. So instead of snow days like up north, we have hurricane days where the school's shut down, and you have to take everything in from outside, and you get your sandbags and lower your pools, and you just prepare. What's coming. So not to speak lightly of it. Hurricanes are definitely something to take seriously. But I think being in Central Florida, that's definitely a good.
I mean, we've had 3 in the last 5 years. So the biggest one came across, which was Milton. That hit at a Category 4, Category 5, right on the coast. And then by the time it made it across the state to us, which is about 100 miles, we're about 100 miles from Tampa up I-4, and it had already dissipated down to a Category 1. Yeah. So Category 1's 85 to 100 miles an hour. So it's still serious, and there's still a lot of wind, and I mean it's crazy, but we've been very lucky.
And I think that's the difference. Like you said, the buildings, the homes here are built to withstand that now. They know it's a common occurrence here in Florida. So depending on where you live, I mean, California has the earthquakes, Midwest has tornadoes. It's just price that you pay for a living in paradise.
Right? All up north has snow days. So.
So it's it's part of it. But overall, I think hurricanes would probably be a negative that we had to prepare for and adjust to. I think
with the hurricanes comes insurance costs.
Insurance would be another negative, because
not only like up north we had to worry about flood insurance, you got to worry about hurricane insurance here. So
now you don't need, I do want to say that you don't need flood insurance depending on your flood level down here. So it doesn't, not all of Florida houses have to have flood insurance. We
there's
don't
different
have
flood
insurance.
Yeah, there's different flood.
So it's something you would look for or want to look for when you're making your purchase. But yes, home insurance and car insurance, I was not prepared for. They are high down here.
Yeah.
And that's something to definitely factor in and consider, yes. Now, can you not afford to get it? I mean, it obviously depends on your livelihood and your cost of living and all of that, but
there's other things that you can do too as well. And houses that are 2005 and newer do have a lower insurance rate down here. A block house is always going to have a better insurance rate than that. But if you have anything built or buy anything built prior to 2005, your insurance cost could be 30% to 80% more.
Yep. The longevity of the roof, the age of the roof.
There's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot to it, and obviously we want you to move down here because we love it. So not to discourage you, but we are being very honest in what to factor in. So
things don't last even with the houses as long as they do up north. So like a AC system here will last about 15 years. As to where up north it'll last 30. It's just because you use it more throughout that time period. And even roofs and stuff are 30 years up north. We're 15 to 20 down here. So it cuts off some of the life, but
it's not a game changer. It's the price you pay, for living down here. So, but that is a factor. I think also spinning off the car insurance would be traffic.
Traffic. Terrible.
As you get toward Disney and Orlando, like that area,
too congested.
It's very congested, and that was one of the reasons we steered away from Celebration, where we originally fell in love with the homes and the town, because the traffic was just overwhelming, really. So where we are in Lake Mary area in Seminole County, it's a little bit less. You have the expressway on I-4 that's recently opened, so that helps to alleviate a lot of that traffic backup. But it is a factor and
the problem is you have so many people from so many different walks of life, and a lot of the time what we see is we were always taught the left lane is for passing. Well, it seems like everybody down here, the left lane's just to drive in and go whatever speed you want to go.
So that's
it'll drive you crazy.
But if you think about it, you have people coming from all over the world to Disney and Orlando, and everybody's learning to drive, right? Not everybody learns how to drive the same way. So that there can be more accidents, there can be more traffic, car insurance is a little higher for that reason. So definitely a negative. I would say also I want to touch on wildlife, because people always, and I know that was in our minds too, alligators. Like, you're moving where there's bugs and snakes and alligators. And
well, the bugs are serious down here.
Yeah. But I will say, I mean, most homes are sprayed, right, and taken care of for
they have really good pest control companies.
Alligators, I think, were a big one. And to be honest, we've been down here for 5 years now, and I think we've seen maybe a handful of alligators in the wild. None in, and I don't want to jinx ourselves, but none in our development here in our neighborhood.
Yeah, we won't have them here because we're too much in.
But if you drive over Lake Jessup on your way to the airport off 417, you'll see alligators floating in there.
That is the most alligator-infested lake in all of Florida.
Yeah,
it has more alligators per gallon of water than anywhere else in the state.
Fun fact. So, and then there are some snakes. I think I've seen one snake.
Yeah, a couple of them.
And I know they're there, obviously. I've seen one walking to school. But I've seen, I think, 2 or 3 in Disney before. So I've seen an alligator in Disney.
There's good snakes.
And Celebration has several alligators I've seen in there.
I see more. I haven't seen very many of the venomous snakes. I see more of the, they're called black erasers, which eat the venomous snakes, and they eat like rodents, rats and stuff. But I see those a lot more than I see anything else. Which they won't hurt you. Now,
we do have a property, because he's an investor, we do investment, we have a property out in Sanford, and this property's more rural of land out there. It's a little bit more rural.
That backs up to 4,000 conservation acres.
So there are snakes out there. Yep. There are large spiders, which
oh my God, the spiders! I will say
and they're
spiders.
fast.
Yeah, very fast.
But I've not seen that here where we are.
Yeah.
So
well, that's because there's a lot
managed differently.
Yeah, there's
and
a lot
it's different location. And
there's a lot of conservation out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of conservation. It's
something to
very
consider,
rural.
though.
Yeah, very rural.
But I will say it's not like, again, there's that stigma of, you're going to live with the bugs and the alligators and the snakes, and it's like, you don't really see them that often. They're there, but you won't find us swimming in a brackish water here, at least not me or my kids. So,
especially at nighttime.
Local Floridians are like, what's the problem? So, but yes, there are, incidents, obviously, and we know they're there. You just be aware and make good choices. So, but with that said, and I've seen those videos like where alligators are at the front door, right?
Yeah.
I've not experienced
that. That's more coast stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, where we used to store all our equipment and stuff, like I've walked past, like that backs up to a conservation too, and they would lay there, and I'd walk past them and not even know they were 5 feet from me, because they don't bother you. They don't want anything to do with you.
Yeah.
We would go up to St. John's River in the boat, and as we'd come around the corner, they would dive in the water because they don't want to be bothered.
Oh,
they really don't.
There's manatees. That's awesome. They're so friendly, and that's just really cool to take the kids. You go to the natural springs, and you can go see the manatees floating and swimming around. And you can actually float in the springs. I did work myself up to do that, so I do have some videos linked on my channel for the natural springs. But you can see in those waters, so you can see what's around you, which I think is a big factor. But anywhere with fresh water in Florida, you can just assume that there's alligators.
If it's got water, it's got a gator in it.
Yeah, so, but
more than likely.
Is it a deal breaker for us?
No, I wouldn't change it. You rarely see them. Like I'm over by a conservation all the time, and I haven't seen but 2 of them. Yeah. In the last 5 years, or 3 years, I should say, because we've only had that property 3 years. So if that tells you anything, and I look all the time, but
I think
they don't want to be bothered.
So I think that's pretty much my list of cons. Do you have anything else that you would add in?
The heat.
Oh, I think we kind of talked about that. He's not a heat person, but
yeah,
you have AC, so.
Yeah, AC. I mean, it's.
I will say, when I was pregnant, though, I think, oh my God, the heat was so intense. It was more than I remember. When I'm not pregnant, it's tolerable to me. But so I think, overall, would we make the move again? Yes.
Sucker.
Yes. So, and I was the biggest one not wanting to go. So
Yep.
if I could see the light, I hope you can too. And if you are in the market for a home here in Central Florida,
Yep.
Or even selling a home in Central Florida, because maybe it's not for you, I would love to help support you on your journey and help you hopefully call Central Florida home. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out. My contact information is in the description below. And yeah, I hope you found value in this video and learned a little bit more about our journey as we landed here in Lake Mary, Florida. Oh, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below so you can stay tuned with more about living here in Central Florida. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.